Day and night and day, the living creatures give their praise. To him who lives eternally, they never cease from saying, Holy, holy is Yahweh Almighty, worthy, worthy to receive all glory.
Hello. Welcome to Heart of the Tribe's presentation of Walking in the Word. My name is Chelle Wagner. I'm so glad you came to join me today, whether you're watching live or whether you're going to be watching in the future. I pray that this message is a blessing to you. We're going to be talking about Hosea chapters 4 through 8 today. Before I get started, I would like to say welcome to T. Glad you are here. Good to see you today. I hope you guys have had a wonderful spring feast celebration. We certainly did at our house and in our congregation. It was just absolutely a delightful week. Just wonderful to be able to get together and share the Pesach meal, be able to share with each other throughout the week of unleavened bread. And actually for first fruits, what a celebration we had for the day of first fruits. It was wonderful. Our congregation, we put on a play and we just had a great time. I would say it's probably my favorite Passover season yet. And I've been doing this for a while now, so that says a lot. So it was wonderful. And I hope that you had a wonderful one too. So today we are talking about Hosea, and this is a difficult part of Hosea. The message is really bringing out, it's focusing in on the decay and the rot within the lives of the people and the government and the leadership of the northern kingdom. And I would like to say I'm so sorry if the timing of this presentation has messed any of you up. I originally had it scheduled for 1, but I had to have a schedule change, so I bumped it up and made it earlier today. So I apologize if you were expecting this at 1 o'clock. I apologize for the last minute time change, but I realized I needed to do this earlier today. Okay, so going into it, we're going to be talking about chapters 4 through 8 today. And I just wanted to read a little bit, kind of a timeline of what we're going to be looking at. So I've got, of course, an introduction to the Old Testament by Robert L. Cate. And he just has one little section in here I wanted to talk about. And so he gives kind of a point-by-point list of what we'll be covering. So he's saying what we're going to be talking about is the moral and spiritual decay that was taking place within the nation. He's talking about Yahweh's controversy with the people, because within this, Yah is saying, this is what I'm bringing against you. I've got some charges against you. This is why this is happening. I want to be clear with you. It is the infidelity of the religious leaders. The fact that the ones that he were supposed to be bringing a message of truth to the people were not doing their job, right? They were not faithful to him and faithful to a calling from him. We see a lot of that. I can't help but look at these books of Amos and Hosea and Micah and Isaiah, the ones preaching to the northern kingdom, the prophets to the northern kingdom, and be able to see the similarities of being a citizen of the United States of America, which we have more churches than any nation on the planet, right? But there's more apostasy in this country than I think any nation on the planet. And we have propagated that throughout the world, being a superpower, which we're declining in status. You can see the fall of our nation, the crumbling in all around us, within the governmental system, within our financial system. You can see the nation beginning to fall and crumble, and I think it's inevitable at this point. So, and this is a lot of why the infidelity of the religious leaders. People quit bringing a message of truth. And we got more in this country. What I've seen is we went from a message of truth and fire and conviction and a calling sin. Good morning, Carrie. Good to have you here today. We went from that to being seeker friendly, and we just need to make everything a party, and you don't want to do anything that's going to upset people or challenge them in any way, or make them feel defeated in any way. So everything needs to be an easy message and a sloppy agape, if you will. And we've seen that happen in this nation with the message that's being come forth from the religious leaders. All right, so there's a spirit of apostasy was born. So what is that? Well, the apostasy, a spirit of apostasy would be it's flowing through the entire religious system that causes people to abandon the rock solid tenets of faith, what they had stood on for so long. We see sexual abuse rampant in the society and within the church system. We see a drunken stubbornness, wow, isn't that true? And what I'm reading here is what Mr. Kate says was happening in ancient Israel, right? I'm not reading what's happening in America. He wrote this about ancient Israel. This is what was happening according to the book of Hosea. But to me, it's just like reading the news headlines right now and what we see going on all around us. It says that the king and the people stumble in pride. I mean, you see it in every political campaign going on, that's gone on now for decades. We're going to build back better. We're going to, when 9/11 happened, the bricks have fallen, but we'll bring them back. Thank you, T, that you like that sloppy agape. That's what it seems like to me. We're going to build back better. We're going to make America great again. We are going to do all this, but yet there's no repentance. There's no accountability. There's no taking ownership for why we are where we are, So because of that the king and the people stumbling in pride, judgment is coming. And that's what, he's saying. That's what happened to their society. Okay. That judgment was coming. And because of that, he discussed the enemies that would be coming to attack them. He talks about the inner rot and decay of the nation itself. He talks about the ultimate judgment because Yah has he's lifted his hand of protection. He said, I'm not going to, keep protecting you because I would like to get your attention and see some of you repent and save your eternal souls. So Israel has a lot of empty words that they are putting forth, right? He's talking about that. And I'm going through his outline that discusses chapter 4 through chapter 8. So these things are taking place as we go through it. These are the things that you'll notice. He discusses how Yah is so grieved, and so we'll notice the grieving words of Yah. He talks about there's a history of infidelity, that this just isn't something that just started happening, but that it's been going on and it's been building and it's become their history. It's become their story, and how there is now utter corruption in the national life of the country. I mean, he's not just pointing out individuals. He's saying this is a national problem. Boy, I really, that resonates with me in our country today of where we're at. So I'm going to read you a paragraph of what he says here about this. He says, Yahweh's controversy is the Hebrew word rib, which seems to imply an attack upon covenant breaking. What was missing among the people of God was faithfulness, kindness, and the knowledge of God. In the Old Testament, the knowledge of God appears to be an idiomatic expression for God's revealed will, his law, his Torah, right? Since Israel had rejected God's revelation, becoming unfaithful to him and unkind to others. Boy, that seems to be what happens, right? When we won't live according to Yah's way, our own behavior becomes unkind to other people. The end result was a national life characterized by swearing, lying, killing, stealing, and committing adultery. This is the result of not staying connected and faithful to Yah. This when we walk away from him and we do our own thing and we justify our behavior, then this is the result. Swearing, a society that's full of swearing, that's full of lying, that's full of murder, killing, that's full of theft, stealing, and that has no problem committing adultery. All of these things are just rampant actually in our society today. You see it everywhere. So taken at face value, Israel's words of penitence in chapter 5, 15 to 6:3, right? That they're repentant would sound quite sincere, but God saw them as insincere, as his response shows. He says in Hosea 6:4, your love is like a morning cloud, like the dew that goes early away. Israel was very religious, but God looked for something deeper than the outward forms of religion. I love that. I believe it's in 2 Timothy, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, right? Okay, back to his notes. He says, furthermore, the problem in Israel was one which went through every strata of society, including the priest, the prophets, the kings, and the people. Everyone was involved. I mean, it flowed from the top down. There was nobody who was exempt from this apostate lifestyle that they said was fine. God knows our heart. He knows who we are. He loves us, right? So that was just exactly where society was and the thinking process that went into it. Therefore, we see the political decay of the nation. And why was it decaying politically? They made very foolish international alliances. Well, boy, can I see that right now. I mean, look at what we're doing to finance this war in Ukraine to the detriment of our own national security in depletion of arms and depletion of ammunition and depletion of resources and depletion of finance, right? To me, something that we have no business being in. And we have We do this time after time after time after time. This is our history, right? And we've made very foolish international alliances rather than being concerned about our own homeland. All right. A lot of that has come from corporate greed. Number 2 point that he makes concerning ancient Israel and their foolishness, right, is they had infidelity in their worship system. It means that they mixed the holy and the profane. And it's really interesting when you read in the Torah about things, for the Levitical priesthood and their, understanding of what is holy and what is profane. And you can't make something profane holy by putting holiness next to it. However, when you take something that is holy, something set apart, and you mix something unholy with it, the whole thing becomes unholy. The whole thing becomes profane, right? And so that's what's happening. There's an infidelity in the worship system, which breeds infidelity in the governmental system. When it starts to happen within the religious system, it flows into the political system. All right. Yah holds his people accountable for what's happening in their nation. He told us to occupy till he comes, right? And when we don't hold our place and do what's right and uphold his rules and his order and his establishment, things begin to decay very quickly. So there is there is a threat, a looming threat of coming judgment because of that, because Yah is faithful to his word. He says in Deuteronomy, and I love this, he says, I have set before you life and death. It is my desire that you would choose life, right? That's what he wants for us. But we have free will. We have free will as a nation. We have free will as individuals, and we make our choices, and then we get to reap the results of those choices. So this all resulted in instability in the northern kingdom. Nothing about their life remained stable. And think about that in our society. Everything feels like it's becoming unstable. There seems to be, it's just like what in Revelation, how it states, that the birth pangs in Matthew 24, that it'll be like birth pangs, right? If it's not a crisis in the oil system, well, it's something happening in war. If there's a constant, this company is laying off all these people, this, jobs getting scarce, but more jobs coming on the scene. There's an inconsistent message, which makes things very unstable. One day it's up, one day it's down. One day it's up, one day it's down. I've been noticing lately, even in the stock market, we had been having wild swings for a while. And now it's almost as if it's flatlined. It's at a certain place. Well, if you ever look at a heart monitor, one way to tell that a patient is alive is it's going up and down. Things are happening, things are moving. When something flatlines on a heart monitor, it's not a good sign. When things start really, there's not much movement there. It's coming to a flat line. Get ready for a crash. It is what I do believe is coming. Do I know the day, the hour, or any of that? No, I do not. But I do believe that the signs of the times show that our society is headed in that way, especially with everyone divorcing themselves from being tied to the petrodollar anymore. Okay, let me go ahead and add my PowerPoint to the screen, and we'll get started with the presentation. Okay, so poor Hosea, he was between the rock Yeshua and a very hard message. And I think that this particular part of it was even kind of hard for me to put it together and look at it, because there's nothing happy about this this section of scripture. It's really discussing a very hard time coming. And I can imagine if I had to deliver this message, if I was, the prophet Hosea, how it would have broken my heart to be amongst my people. It breaks my heart just bringing it, really, that, some of the pictures and stuff that I've got in this presentation. I of course I had to tie current pictures of what's happening in our society to what the message of Hosea is, and that's what we're looking at. And I could see that it was really hard. T's got a nice verse here to share. She says that John 15:16 says, our love for him isn't like the mist fading, but it is ever enduring. Thank you for sharing that, T. All right, let me see if I can advance this now. All right, so Hosea chapter 4 is where we're starting. In verse 1, he says, and this is out of the Sefer, hear the word of Yahweh, you children of Yasharel. For Yahweh, let me see if I can remove this so it won't be in our way the whole time. Give me 1 second. All right, there we go. That is better. Okay. Hear the word of Yahweh, you children of Yasharel, for Yahweh has a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, no mercy, nor knowledge of Elohim in the land. I find it interesting that I ended up presenting this today as we are in the counting of the Omer. I always find it interesting that between the Pesach season and the next feast of Shavuot, we've got the 7 Shabbats, and what we're looking at in those 7 Shabbats as we count, we're expecting the gift of the word of the Torah, which has been given, and then the gift that Yahusha gave us when he said, wait here, in this upper room that I believe was an upper chamber in the temple. And he told his disciples, wait here until I give you the gift that will empower you from on high. And we see in Isaiah 11, in verse 2, those 7 ruachs, right? And that are all, that's the word that we translate as spirit, that are all things that help us operate in power. And so I find that interesting. I know that knowledge is listed within that. And so we're going to look at that. But I'm going to start here with truth, right? So what he's saying here is there's no element of real truth, right, within your society anymore. Okay, so let's look at that word for a minute. The word is emet, something that's firm or reliable, something that is faithful. Okay, and if you're interested, last year, Chris McIntyre and I did a series where we covered those 7 ruachs found in Isaiah 11:2, and it is underneath my Lamb broadcast playlist on YouTube and Brighteon. Okay, so because there is no truth, no mercy, nor knowledge of Elohim in the land, emet, truth is emet. So the definition of something being true means that it is firm, it is reliable, it is faithful. Let's look at it in the word picture. We have an aleph, we have a mem, and we have a tav. So you can see the ox head of the aleph. You see the chaotic waters, the up and down, right? We are mostly water. So you see a lot of humanity in there. So you see that. And then we see the tav, which looks like a cross, okay? It also is something that is a message that goes out to the north, the south, the east, and the west when we look at it even in the paleo. Well, I'm sorry, that's the Tet. But the Tav, it's all about covenant. It's all about covenant. Okay. So what I saw in the word picture was we've got the first strength, the crown strength, right? That overcomes the chaos. The chaos is what's at the heart of things, right? And that's really what we are. We're mainly water, which can be very chaotic. We're emotional. We're easily swayed, whether we think we are or not. We are humanity. Okay. So we've got the ox head, the strength, the number one, right? The Aleph and the Tav. Who is the Aleph and the Tav? Yahusha said, I am the first, I am the last, right? So he's ruling over the chaos. The Aleph and the Tav rules over the chaos. That is truth, right? Let's look at what he said about himself in John chapter 17, 15 through 17, reading from the Sefer. This is Yahusha's prayer for us before he leaves humanity behind and experiences death, burial, and resurrection. He prays this for all that were his people and all that will be his people, right? I pray. So he's asking this for us of the Father. He's asking, I pray not that you should take them out of the world, but that you should guard them from evil. They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. Sanctify them through your truth, through your emet, right? Through your Aleph and Tav ruling over the chaos, right? Sanctify them through your truth. Your word is truth. And we know in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. All right. So the next one that we want to look at is mercy. That's what else was absent from society. These things had gone missing. Truth had gone missing. Mercy had gone missing from society as a whole. What is mercy? In the Hebrew, it is hesed, right? It's a kindness. It's a compassion. I also wanted to just bring this up for a minute. Let me see if I can put this up on the bottom. In case you guys want to send me an email, it's there. In case you really want to understand more of the pictograph, I have a class on Sefer Academy. And so the address is there. You can sign up. You can take that class right there. I also keep a Facebook page where I post the videos too. And I keep a Telegram channel. It's not an interactive group. It is a channel where I post things that I find of interest or significance, mainly, current events happening in the world all around us. So let me put that information up there for you guys so you'll know where to find those things. All right. So back to this mercy, where he's saying there's no mercy anymore in the society. It's hesed. What it really is kindness, compassion. He's saying kindness and compassion has left the society, that you're not finding a spirit of kindness within the society anymore. How sad to see that leave. And we have certainly begun to see that elements of that in our society. I've never seen worse road rage than I have witnessed these last few years. It's like something really snapped in the spirit realm in 2020 when all of the trouble descended upon us and governmental interference, overreach really stepped up to a whole new level. We see it has permeated our society. And with that came a lack of common compassion of one towards another, to where, our older relatives and loved ones were in nursing homes and were denied any contact with family anymore, to where all you can do is wave through a window. I mean, I had to experience that with a loved one, with several of my loved ones, and ended up dying in that fashion. And I mean, to me, it was a total absence of compassion in our society is what we saw, because we had mandates, you know. So I see this in our society as well. Micah 6:6-8, and we'll be going over the book of Micah probably when I finish Hosea. But I won't be doing that probably until after my interview with Dr. Monzo and Dr. Sanger, which is coming up on May 3rd. I have some work to do on that. And of course, I am working with a local congregation. So my videos, I don't have quite as many as I used to, but it's because I'm working on some really exciting things. And I hope you guys can understand that, and that you're looking forward to this too. I'm so excited about this interview. If you don't know who Dr. Laura Sanger is and her book on the roots of the Federal Reserve, please look her up. She has a YouTube channel called No Longer Enslaved. And wow, she really teaches so much on the Nephilim, and its ties to our current Federal Reserve System and the ancient ties. So it's going to be an unbelievable interview with her and Dr. Monzo, who I have had on the show several times. And I'm sure that most of you, if you've watched my shows, are familiar with Dr. Monzo, who is at Wellbeing by Design, and he is the author of the Aleph Tav body system. He had a fantastic interview with David Hebner not long ago, and I talked about that in one of my reports from Under the Desk and went over some of that. He is an expert on nanotechnology and what it does in the body and what we're dealing with today. So this ought to be an extremely interesting interview. So I'm really looking forward to it. All right, back to this message. Kindness and compassion. Mercy has said, Micah 6:6-8, wherewith shall I come before Yahweh and bow myself before the high Elohim? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves of a year old? Will Yahweh be pleased with thousands of rams, or with 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has shown you, O man, what is good and what Yahweh requires of you, but to do justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your Elohim. Yah desires that we would be a merciful people, that we would love that spirit of mercy, and that we would have that in our hearts and reach out to others with that. So then he goes into knowledge. Knowledge has also left the society. So what is that? And like I said, oh, thank you, T. I appreciate that. She's letting me know she really, is sorry that I had to experience that with the loved ones. Yeah, it was difficult on my family. But thank you for that. I appreciate that. So knowledge is one of the ones listed in Isaiah 11:2, one of the ruachs that's listed. So what is it? It is perception. There's skill in it, in being able to perceive what something is or what something isn't. It helps you not just see black and white, but start to see nuances, shades of gray, right? Having skill in discerning all the pieces of the puzzle that are involved in something, having understanding, having wisdom, in your perception. So Proverbs 1 7 says, the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Right? So if you want to sharpen your knowledge, your skill of discernment, your level of discernment, right? Then the best way is to develop a healthy fear of Yah. Does that mean I am like trembling, afraid of him, afraid to approach him? No, it means I have a healthy respect for what he says. And, just like you would have a healthy respect and fear of any good parent, that they love you, that they have your best, but that they've set up rules for your good and you're expected to follow them, because if not, there are consequences and they're very clear with you about that, right? So let's just look at the word picture here. We have a dalet, we have an ayin, and we have a tav, right? So knowledge is to see, to perceive that there is a door you must walk through in order to be in covenantal relationship. Well, who do we see? Who is the door, right? In John 10, verses 1 and 2. Amen, amen, I say unto you, he that enters not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbs up some other way, the same as a thief and a robber. If you won't go through the door, right? But he that enters in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. In John 10, 7 through 9, then Yahusha said unto them again, Amen, amen, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved and go in and out and find pasture. It's really interesting, Yahusha bringing this in. There are many that came before him and that have come since him to say that they were the Messiah. It happens over and over, and especially in the religion of Judaism, looking for that Messiah. There was a famous one that had a huge influence on the religion of Judaism, Sabbatai Zevi, that proclaimed himself to be Messiah and had a following of over 50% of all of Judaism. And out of that came Jacob Frank and others that really influenced the religion of Judaism and what it is today, where we see the teachings of the Zohar, the Mishnah, the Talmud, and what it evolved into, of being their own. These leaders basically taught that your salvation comes from your depravity, right? That in order to truly enter into a salvation experience, you had to go to the depth of depravity and be just as sinful as you could. I mean, it was just so heretical, and it's led so many people astray. Really sad. No knowledge in that one. No discernment in that teaching. No truth. All right, let's go on. So I wanted to share this one because to me, this needs to be a prayer for the believer. I love taking great Psalms and turning them into my personal prayers. And this is one when we're asking that my heart would be full of mercy, that I would operate in a spirit of knowledge, that I would have a love of truth, right? So that I would walk in his ways and not in an apostate way. Here's a prayer. Teach me your way, O Yahweh. I will walk in your truth. I will walk in your emet. Unite my heart to fear your name. I will praise you, O Adonai Elohim, with all my heart, and I will glorify your name forevermore. For great is your mercy towards me, and you have delivered my soul from the lowest Sheol. O Elohim, the proud are risen against me, and the assemblies of violent men have sought after my soul, and have not set you before them. But you, O Adonai, are an El that is full of compassion and gracious, long suffering, and plenteous in mercy and truth. Right? How important these aspects are. All right, on to Hosea 4:2. I promise we'll move a little quicker than this. I know I'm only on verse 2 of the presentation, but we will begin to move a little quicker. So Hosea 4:2, you make vows and break them, you kill and steal and commit adultery. There's violence everywhere, one murder after another. And that's from the New Living Translation. So this was something that I found in a commentary by David Guzik that I thought was very interesting, and I thought it was relevant and really brought this forward. He says, they break all restraint. It all connects back to leaving the knowledge of God, the da'at, right? Soon, truth and mercy are things of the past, and people no longer practice restraint. When man will not or cannot restrain himself, bloodshed and destruction follow. Our modern age is completely set against the idea of restraint. You see it in the advertising slogans of the recent past. You know, to know no boundaries. Now, he just had the list, but I went and I researched, where did this come from? Who used this slogan, right? So I found out that that was a slogan of Merrill Lynch, to know no boundaries, right? In your financial freedom, we're going to take you to new heights and new levels, right? If you just follow our wealth management team, you'll know no boundaries in the wealth you can achieve, right? No rules, just right. The Outback Steakhouse is where that one came from, right? We don't have any rules here. You don't have to dress a certain way. Everything that you order, your steak's going to be just right. Oh, I'm so glad you are, T. Enjoying every minute. That's right. Nike, just do it, right? That there it is. Just do it. Just whatever is in your heart to do, you just go do it. You put on our tennis shoes and you just go do it, right? Oliver Wendell Holmes came up with the saying, break all the rules, right? Set your own course. You just break all the rules. The car company Saab said, peel off your inhibitions, find your own road, because this is the message. These are the things that our society wants to hear. These are winning advertising campaigns, because this is what the heart of this society wants to hear. This is why the friendly seeker church, the sloppy agape message is so popular. It feeds that fleshly desire to throw off the restraints, right? I've worked at a kids camp, and constantly the phrase when I worked there, like I think it was the year of 2018 when I did most of my work. 2017, 2018 is when I was there. And what I heard all the time from these 5-6-year-olds, right? Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Don't judge me, right? It was a slogan. And it was a slogan of the day, whereas it's saying I can do whatever I want to do. I can be whoever I want to be, and you're required to accept it. And that's what this society is trying to push down our throat. If I decide I am a cat that wants to marry my computer, well, then you're required to accept my meows as a yes. It's insanity. I'm sorry, but this is insane, people, right? Peel off your inhibitions, find your own road, do whatever you want to do. Thank you, Sob. Then we got Safari. I guess that was a perfume or a brand by Ralph Lauren. We are living without boundaries. So, so David Guzak's comment here was the message is the same. You make your own rules. You answer to no one. You are the one that matters. Your universe revolves around you. The selfie generation, right? It's all about me, myself, and I. How do I feel? What do I want? What are my desires? Me, me, me. It is my, what's important is my, whatever my mind thinks, whatever my soul wants, however my emotions lead me. These are all unstable things. These are not good guides for living, right? And when we do this as a society, you can see the society crumble all around you. And this is, I believe, what we are experiencing right now, and certainly what ancient Israel experienced. All right. In Hosea 4:3, that's why your land is in mourning and everyone's wasting away. Even the wild animals, the birds of the sky and the fish of the sea are disappearing. You know, I found things of things. I'll put these, I haven't done it yet, but I'll go back and I'll put these things in the description so you can look at it. This was a really interesting site. The mass animal deaths of 2023. It's just unbelievable when you look at it on a worldwide scale, what's happening. Because, you know, right now, I tend to compare things to America because I'm an American, but Israel is scattered into the nations. It's in every corner of the globe. It's in every nation, right? We're in every nation. He promises that's where we were going to be scattered and that's where we'll be gathered back from. So even though I tend to concentrate on America because I'm an American, I see that this is happening everywhere, right? Because Israel is everywhere and every nation's having its own problems right now. You know, so take it to heart for wherever you are. Birds are dying in the United States and no one knows why. Was a news article I found. And like I said, I'll link them. It says there's a new epidemic. This one was just as far back as July 7th of 2021, but it has continued and increased to this day. There's a new epidemic, this time among birds, and illnesses infecting them in the U.S. Capitol, and it's spreading. Experts say the cause is unknown, right? A degeneration of the society is probably the cause, in my opinion. Here's another one. At least 600 tons of dead fish have washed up along Tampa Bay shore. This again was in July 13th of 21 from National Public Radio. But like I said, I've got this link of what's happening now in current time of 2023, and it's a worldwide list. So I will put that link in the description. The priest and the prophets have fallen with the people. No one is giving a word of knowledge. And that was what he was saying in Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge, the da'at, right? Because you have rejected the knowledge. I will also reject you, that you shall be no priest to me. Seeing you have forgotten the Torah of your Elohim, I will also forget your children. Wow. In verse 8, it lets us know, Hosea 4:8, it lets us know that the priesthood was fed as the people brought in their sin offerings. So they encouraged sin. You know, they placated people. It's okay. We'll make it all right between you and Yah. You know, we understand. You know, we understand how hard it is, and they lessened the severity of living in sin, right? Because they were profiting from it. They made the people feel better and they profited by it. It sounds familiar to me. Let's go on to Hosea 4:10-11. It says, they will eat and still be hungry. They will play the prostitute and gain nothing from it, for they have deserted Yahweh to worship other Elohims, right? Other gods, little g. Wine has robbed my people of their understanding. He's saying they're in a stupor. They have drunk themselves happy, and now they have no understanding of what is actually going on. Again and again, he addresses their drunkenness, right? Drunkenness on prosperity, just all kinds of things. So I was looking at some American eating habits and what do we do? And we eat for convenience and for taste. We treat food as a society, you know, this is a generalization. Generally in this society, we treat food like mouth candy instead of fuel for our bodies. What have we as people gained from corporations moving all the jobs overseas due to cheap labor? We as a nation drink wine by the bowlful, right? That it is a party all the time. Hosea 4:12-14 says it deals with sexual sin that is rampant in their nation. Okay. The United States of America has led the way in sexual sin and perversion across the globe. We are the ones that have promoted all the you can be whatever you want to be. I'm trying to be careful of my words because I would like to be able to keep this up on YouTube for as long as they will let me. so you have to kind of go with me on that. You guys know what I'm talking about. You're aware, you read the papers, you see the headlines, you know what's happening, you know, to our women's sports teams. And I mean, it's just what's happening in story times in our libraries. It's just apostate, right? It is pure sexual sin. And we are leading the way in that, making our army march in red high heels. We have become the laughing stock of the world. Okay. The violence in our nation right now with the recent shootings is all in the promotion of a deviant sexual lifestyle. Just what we've witnessed in the last, week. It's been so sad what has happened with the shooting in Tennessee and other things that have been uncovered. It's just horrendous. It's a desire to throw off all restraint. You see it in Psalm 2, that the people are tired of being restrained. They don't judge me. No judgment zone. I can do what I want to do, right? It's a desire to throw off the restraint of Yah's rules, his regulations, that we might have life and life more abundantly, right? Because he knows what we're having to deal with in the supernatural realm and the influence of the demonic influence that's all around us. And he's trying to save us from that. So a desire to throw off all the restraint. And if society will not go along with it and celebrate it, then the attitude is kill those who oppose us, right? We're seeing it happen all around us. It will become more and more dangerous in society for those of us who are believers. But our hope is to be absent from the body is to be present with Yah. So I, I'm not worried about it. My friend gave me a very, very interesting statement. She went somewhere with her husband that was ended up being a bit dangerous. It was a very interesting story that they had to tell me yesterday. Um, but she was telling me that while they were in the situation, that she prayed and she said, "Yeah, are we safe?" And his response to her that she heard was, "You're not safe, but you're covered." Right? The thought that anywhere that we go in society at this point is safe is ludicrous, because it's not. There's things going on all around us. We don't know who people are. And I talked about this a little bit, where Celestial of the Master's Voice made a statement that really hit me, and I believe that she heard this from Yah. I just do. That probably 60% of who we come in contact with out in society are probably not fully human any longer. That, there's something going on with the propagation of the Nephilim seed. We're in a different time period. That is for sure. Okay. Hosea 4:15. I get my words straight. Though you, Israel, are a prostitute, may Yehuda not be guilty of such things. Do not join the false worship at Gilgal or Beth Aven, and do not take oaths there in Yahweh's name. So Hosea is pleading with Judah, don't go down the same path as Israel. But we know from history that they did, and they did so even worse, according to the prophet Ezekiel. Hosea 4:19. So a mighty wind will sweep them away. Their sacrifices to idols will bring them to shame. And I believe that this nation, which is why I have a tsunami overtaking the Statue of Liberty in my PowerPoint, I believe that this is what this nation is heading into. Hosea chapter 5, verse 1. Hear this, you priests. Pay attention, you leaders of Israel. Listen, you members of the royal family. Right now, he's dealing with those in powerful positions. Okay, so that would translate, we don't have a king in this nation, but what we have are those that I believe probably have bloodline ties to the royalty leaders throughout the other prominent nations, that there's probably bloodline ties there, but they are known as, senators and congressmen and presidents and whatnot here in this nation, and judges, right? So hear this, you priests. Pay attention, you leaders of Israel. Listen, you members of the royal family. Judgment has been handed down against you, for you have led the people into a snare by worshiping the idols at Mizpah and Tabor. So I put this little picture of the bandit here. There's an old Jewish tradition that liars in wait were set in these two places, this Mizpah and Tabor, right? Because the northern kingdom had set up idols in Dan and Bethel, telling people, don't you go back to Jerusalem to celebrate. Here's the representation of your God now. You're not, what is it at like Hotel California? You can come, but you can't leave. When my husband always quotes something, I think it's from The Godfather, and it's when they shut the door and it says, now you can't leave, right? So these two places, Mizpah and Tabor, is like a place, according to Jewish tradition, so take it for what it is, that there were liars in wait that were set in these two places to intercept and murder those Israelites who persisted in going up to worship at Jerusalem, right? They were going to stop it in its tracks. All right. Hosea 5:4, your deeds won't let you return to your Elohim. You are a prostitute through and through, and you do not know Yahweh. So I put up this New Orleans Police Department sign from long ago that said, beware of pickpockets and loose women, because that's what the society has become. All right. So here we go. Hosea 5:5. The arrogance of Israel testifies against her. Israel and Ephraim will stumble under their load of guilt. Judah too will fall with them. You know, we saw when President Trump was in office a great uniting and a great love in the nation of Israel, the current day nation of Israel, to embrace Trump and all the things he was going to do for them, you know, and it was all about, you know, they had signs, Trump's going to make Israel great again. And there was all this America first, rah, rah, rah stuff, and the coins with his image being put on it, right? An image being projected of a person that was really being worshipped, right? I saw all that, and it just gave me the creeps. All right, Hosea 5:6. When they come with their flocks and herds to offer sacrifices to Yahweh, they will not find him because he has withdrawn from them. They have betrayed the honor of Yahweh, bearing children that are not his. Very interesting. Just like he was asked, didn't you sow good seed in your field? And he said, an enemy must have done this. What happened? Adam was to guard that garden, right? And he didn't. And the enemy came in, and another seed was sown. And we had a tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And they ended up partaking from it. And man fell, right? And had to have a redeemer to be redeemed. They have betrayed the honor of Yahweh, bearing children that are not his. Now their false religion will devour them along with their wealth. Hosea 5:9. One thing is certain, Israel, on your day of punishment, you will become a heap of rubble. Now there is a prophecy. Hello, my sweetheart, Robert. My husband has joined us on the live chat. Good to see you here today. So there's a prophecy of Mystery Babylon in Revelation 18. And I believe that this is a huge connection to that. It says one in Hosea 5:9, one thing is certain, Israel, on your day of punishment, you will become a heap of rubble. Revelation 18:1-3 says, after all this, I saw another angel come down from heaven with great authority, and the earth grew bright with his splendor. He gave a mighty shout, Babylon is fallen, and that great city is fallen. She has become a home for demons. She's a hideout for every foul spirit, a hideout for every foul vulture and every foul and dreadful animal. For all the nations have fallen because of the wine of her passionate immorality. The kings of the world have committed adultery with her because of her desires for extravagant luxury. The merchants of the world have grown rich. Good morning, Lisa. So good to have you with us today. All right. So now in Hosea 6:1-3, it says, come, let us return to Yahweh. He has torn us to pieces. Now he will heal us. He has injured us. Now he will bandage our wounds. In just a short time, he will restore us so that we may live in his presence. Oh, that we might know Yahweh. Let us press on to know him, right? That's that knowledge, that da'at we were talking about in the beginning. He will respond to us as surely as the arrival of dawn or the coming of rains in the early spring. Hosea 6:4. And this is what I was talking about in the beginning, what Mr. Cates was teaching, is that, Israel's crying out, and it looks like there's some sincerity, but Yah sees the insincerity in that plea, right? And in that statement. Hosea 6:4 through 7 says, O Israel and Judah, what should I do with you? Ask Yahweh. For your love vanishes like the morning mist, and it disappears like dew in the sunlight, right? He's saying, you say you love me, but it doesn't last. I can't see it in your attitude or in your actions or in your behavior. It's not affecting your behavior. It's just words, right? I sent my prophets to cut you to pieces. What is he saying? Not to literally cut them, but to rend their heart like a garment, to say, yes, we are sinful, to try to prompt them to repent, to slaughter you with my words, with judgments as inescapable as light. I want to show you love, not offer he says, I want you to show love, not offer sacrifices, right? He's saying, I want to see this commitment coming up out of your heart, not to just do something rote to try to get a check mark with, okay, now I can go do whatever I want, right? I want you to show love, not offer sacrifices. I want you to know me more than I want your burnt offerings. But like Adam, right, like the first man, you broke my covenant and you have betrayed my trust. So I've got the man standing there. It's like, to me, this picture of Yahusha where his people, his own people, have just stabbed him in the back, being unfaithful, breaking his heart. Hosea 7:1-2. I want to hear Israel, but its sins are just too great. Samaria is filled with liars. Thieves are on the inside and bandits on the outside. Samaria was the capital city of the northern kingdom. It was like it's Washington, D.C., right? Its people don't realize that I am watching them. Their sinful deeds are all around them, and I see them all. Amazing. And so I really thought this was relevant. Out of 1 Peter 3, verse 12, it says, for the eyes of Yahweh are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their prayer. But the face of Yahweh is against those who do evil. We never want to forget, he sees. Hosea 7:9-12 says, worshiping foreign gods has sapped their strength, but they don't even know it. Their hair is gray, but they don't realize they're old and weak. Now, why would that be? Because they live in such luxury, and anytime they have the slightest pain here or there, there's an answer for it. There's a bowl full of wine. There's a painkiller. There's a party to go to. There's a comfortable seat to get in, right? So they don't really realize the condition because they've grown soft, and their luxuries are what give them their comfort, right? Sounds very similar to today. Their arrogance testifies against them, yet they don't return to Yahweh, their Elohim, or even try to find him. The people of Israel have become like silly, witless doves. first calling to Egypt, then flying to Assyria for help. But as they fly about, I will throw my net over them and bring them down like a bird from the sky. I will punish them for all the evil that they do. Hosea 7:14. They do not cry out to me with sincere hearts. Instead, they sit on their couches and wail. They cut themselves, begging foreign gods for grain and new wine. They turn away from me. Yah's heart was just broken that they wouldn't turn to him. Hosea 8, starting in verses 1 and 2. Sound the alarm. The enemy descends like an eagle on the people of Yahweh, for they have broken my covenant and revolted against my law. Now Israel pleads with me, help us, for you are our Elohim. Right? And I put this here, this flag of the United States of America and this eagle descending, because at this point, when I look, do I feel safe with the government that's in place in this nation at this point? Do I feel like they are on my side, watching out for my interest? No, I do not. I do not. I watch what taxes are taken out of my husband's paycheck, right? And I see what that money goes for, where our government is sending it. And it certainly is not to help our veterans or to help our people. It's sent all over the world in order to make those who are already getting richer, that are in government. It's all about whatever political ties they have and what's going to enhance their own pocketbook. I mean, the thing that we put our trust in and the American pride and the American spirit, it's not for the American people any longer. This government has no interest in my well-being, not from anything that I can see. Hosea 8:3, but it's too late. The people of Israel have rejected what is good, and now their enemies will chase after them. And if you watch the alliances, the BRICS nations, and what is setting up, and I believe that when I look at the BRICS, that's Brazil, Russia. Let me think, what's the I? In India, perhaps, China, and I can't remember which one is the S. I know Iran is in there. I mean, these nations, right? The petrodollar has been abandoned. It's done. It's over. And the only reason that this nation had such power was it held the petrodollar over. If you don't do what we say you're going to do, your nation won't be able to buy any gas, any oil, and you won't have energy. And so we had that threat because as the superpower, that's what was in place. And if you've looked, that has been pretty much abandoned, which means we have no power behind our bravado any longer, right? That threat has been taken away. And this is what happens to superpowers and how they end up crumbling to the ground historically. Hosea 8:6. This calf you worship, O Israel, was crafted by your own hands. It is not Elohim. Therefore, it must be smashed to bits. And I've got the big old bull that sits right outside Wall Street that to me is probably a lot like the bull that was set up in Dan and Bethel by ancient Israel. And with the loss of the petrodollar, our economy will crash. It will crash. It will probably happen very, very quickly when it happens. I don't know the day. I don't know the hour. I don't know the month. I don't know the year. I don't know. But from everything that's setting up, it's probably not that far away. It's probably just not that far away. And we better be ready for it. And I don't mean so much, you know, you can be a prepper and think that you've got everything in place and you've got your stashes of gold and your stashes of silver. And if a nation's under judgment and you happen to live, it rains on the righteous and the unrighteous, and you happen to live in a place where a tornado is sent, well, all your preps may get scattered into the wind, right? We have to be prepped in our heart and in our mind. And I'm not saying don't be prudent. I'm saying it's going to be different probably for every person, because only Yah knows what's going to happen in your future. I don't know what's going to happen in your future. I don't even know what's going to happen in my future, right? However, I have to be prayed up, and Yah is so faithful. I just think about time after time after time when he's whispered things to me. He is right on time and tells me what I need to do when I need to do it. He's constantly faithful. And if we're in relationship with him, I can count on his faithfulness to me. So I don't have to be afraid about living in the midst of a nation that his judgments are being poured out on. Last Passover, I've told this story over and over because it's just incredible to me. But last Passover, Robert and I spent the night before Passover in a tent, and tornadoes hit where we were. And as the tornadoes hit, and y'all warned me it was going to happen before it happened and told me not to worry about it. And Robert told me not to worry about it, that we were okay. And that was right. But as the tornadoes were swirling all around us, and we're in this tent, right, on this platform over a lake in Tennessee, as we're getting ready to celebrate Passover with a group of people we had just met the next day. And I'm laying there and I hear it all around me, and it's just raging outside. And I tell you, our tent didn't even rip, not a pole bent. We didn't even get wet. But it's raging. These storms and tornadoes are raging. In fact, I saw the evidence of one the next morning. That tornado hit not 100 feet from where our tent was, because you know what trees look like when they've been twisted off, like they've just been twisted and mangled like little sticks, and they're all brushy on the end. That's what I saw the next morning when I got out of that tent. But as I'm laying there, what Yah told me was, I am going to teach you how to live in perfect shalom in the midst of judgments being poured out all around you. All around you. You'll be in the midst of judgments being poured out, and you will have my peace, and you will live in wholeness and in shalom and in perfect peace, because you know that you abide underneath the shadow of my wing. It's just like what my friend told me yesterday. You're not safe, but you're covered, right? Don't look for safety. Don't look for that. I love being married to a warrior. Robert's always like, run to the battle, right? We're safe because we're in covenant. As long as we're doing what he's telling us to do, being where he tells us to be, living how he tells us to live, this stuff will come. It will happen. And yes, absolutely. Amen, Lisa. It will happen. But we're okay as long as we are getting our direction and abiding underneath the shelter of his wings. And we're listening for his voice. All right. Hosea 8:11 and 12 says, Israel has built many altars to take away sin, but these very altars became places for sinning. Even though I gave them all my laws, all my Torah, they act as if that Torah doesn't apply to them. Well, let's just We like this out of the Old Testament. Let's keep that one. But this one, the Sabbath thing, just rip that right on out. This thing that tells us, in fact, this week's coming Torah portion has to deal with what is food and what is not food, what is clean and what is unclean. Well, I don't like that. I don't like what it says there. So I'm just going to rip that part out. But this part that says, I'll be blessed in the city and I'll be blessed here and I'll be blessed there. Let's keep that. I like that. Right? Right? Pick and choose. We don't get to pick and choose. It doesn't work that way. All right. So that was what I had for you guys today. I hope it's been a blessing to you. I hope that and pray that you hear Yah's message for you within that message, that there is something that he personally speaks to your heart that blesses you and advances your own walk with him, that it helps you draw closer to him. So may you be blessed until I am back with you on another presentation. I'm not sure when that is yet, but I will announce it, and I'll try to remember to announce it on the Telegram group. I didn't remember to announce this one, so no guarantee that I'll remember to announce the next one. But I just watched I do try to at least give a couple of days notice on YouTube. So watch the YouTube channel and it is announced there. All right. Well, blessings to each and every one of you. May you continue to grow close to him as we are in this season of counting the Omer and looking forward to Shavuot and a new and refreshing pouring out of his Ruach upon our lives. So blessings to each and every one of you. All righty. Shalom.
Day and night and day, the living creatures give their praise to him who lives eternally. They never cease from saying, Holy, holy is Yahweh.